One button does everything.
Well, good afternoon. I'm glad to see all of you here, and I'm glad to be here. This is the first time actually we've gotten to give a class on gardening, and so I hope it goes well. John inherited this parrot from his Uncle Bob, who passed away, and Uncle Bob had been a sailor. He'd been in the Navy for many years, and so Bob knew every swear word there was to know. So as a result, the parrot knew every swear word there is to know. So John had his girlfriend come over one night, and the parrot was just rambling on and on with all his bad language, and John got frustrated, and he grabbed the parrot and he threw it in the freezer. And so he heard all this squawking going on for a while, and all of a sudden he got quiet. So John went over and he opened up the freezer, and the parrot was in there, and he looked at John and he said, "John, I am so sorry. I will never ever use another swear word again. I will be just as nice and as courteous as can possibly be." And John said, "Well, great." And the parrot looks at John and says, "Hey, John, what did the turkey do?" Well, I was born here in San Antonio, over in the Valley High area. We lived there, and then we moved out to Leakey, Texas. Anybody know where that's at? It's Leakey, not Leakey. By Garner State Park. My mother had 300 acres of land out there. And one of the first things my father did when we arrived out there was decided that we needed to have a garden. And it was 100 by 100 feet. Now when you're a teenager, that's pretty big. That's a lot of area. Anyway, we had to spend a lot of summer hours out in that garden, pulling the weeds and picking all the vegetables and all that. And if that was enough, he would take us over to the relatives' gardens, because they all had gardens that were 3 times as big as ours, and always had stuff that had to be picked. So needless to say, when I left home and joined the Army, I said, "Dad, I am never going to put foot in a garden again." And I did my time in the Army, got out, and we went to a Bible college in Colorado Springs, and there we started gardening again. And who would know that it would lead to a full-time job now? Matter of fact, it's a full-time job for me. For my son Matthew. Matthew's a musician, and he works for us, but he actually plays the guitar, the piano, the keyboard, the drums, and he leads the music over at his church, Bone in My Bones Ministries. And I have my son Andrew. He works for us also. He just graduated UTSA last year. My wife helps us when she's not working. She comes home and goes to work. She works for GPA. She processes medical claims. And we have a daughter, Tiffany, who's in her last year at Shriner, and she also does a lot of tweeting and stuff for us. And on rare occasions when we really get busy, Cinnamon, right back there in the back, comes over and helps us as well. And then this week, everything's gotten so busy, we had to add 2 part-timers. So we're looking forward to a good future here. Now, I want to say that I am not an expert gardener. To me, the expert gardener here in San Antonio is Bob Webster, who comes on KTSA Saturday and Sunday mornings on channel 550 AM. So he would be the best one to ask if you really have some specific questions. Now, who's your expert here?
Mary Fernandez.
Mary here?
No, I don't think she was able to come.
Oh, there you go. Now, we've gardened in Colorado. We've done gardens in Michigan, Arkansas. I was in Iraq for 4 years. I had a garden there. And then we did a garden in Afghanistan, and it wasn't potty plants. Actually, we're there to wipe out the poppy plants. So we're beginning the growing season this year, and so we wanted to start by talking about one of the things that I seem to get a lot of emails about and a lot of questions about, and that's the proper seed germination. So we're going to run through this, and hopefully we get all in order here, about germinating the seeds. Now, you'll buy your pack of seeds, and you'll take your little seed and your little packet here, and you'll read it, and it'll say, plant a 1/4 inch deep, 8 weeks prior to transplanting outdoors. One of the reasons we're looking at seed germination now is if you plan on planting your own plants for the Texas area for the spring, it's about time to get them started if you're going to start them inside. So you read instructions, and you'll make your little 1/4 inch hole, and you say, hey, if a 1/4 inch hole is fine, then hey, how about a 1/2 inch or even an inch? That'll even do better. And then you'll put your little seed in there, and you'll water it. We're not going to water anything here today. And then you'll be singing Kumbaya, waiting for it to grow. And then you'll keep singing, and keep singing, and keep waiting, and keep waiting. And then guess what? When I say guess what, you'll say what?
Why?
Okay. You're going to send me an email telling me that my seeds aren't any good because it didn't germinate and grow. Well, that's because you planted it too deep. We need to make sure that we're doing the seeds, that we follow the directions on the packet. Because those are done by people with degrees and professionals, and they've tested this stuff over and over, so they know the right depth to plant things at, and they know the right amount of water to give it, the right temperature to grow it at. All right. So, of course, when it grows, you'll send me an email and say my stuff's not any good. And of course, I'll refund you or send you more because everything that we sell is 100% guaranteed. 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you're not happy with it, just call us. Even if you messed it up, we'll refund it. Now, a seed is a living organism. It's alive. This little thing here, it's actually alive. It's inside of a shell and it's alive. And over time, it will die if it's not used. We could be looking at a year, 2, 3 years, depending on the seed. And so there's an embryo in there. And once that embryo receives the right amount of water and heat, it'll start to germinate. And then once it starts to germinate, it'll grow, and it will grow into our little seedling. Now this little seedling, once it does grow, it will need the right amount of light. And if you're growing inside the house, we like to use this system here because the light that it gives helps the seedlings grow. If a seedling does not receive enough light, like we just try to grow it under natural light, it will grow tall and thin, and then it'll fall over and usually die. So it needs the right amount of light. If you're putting it in the windowsill, 6 to 8 hours a day, of course in the wintertime that's going to be a little hard to get, but 6 hours will do it. If you're growing it inside, you want to have it on a light like this, it'll be about 12 hours. Now seeds come in a lot of different sizes. This is one of the larger seeds. It's a lima bean. There's also one called a fava bean, which is even larger than this one. And then we go as small as the little anti-hyssop seeds. And this is the anti-hyssop plant right here. And it seems to me the smaller the seed, the longer it takes to germinate. One of the hardest things to grow are the strawberry seeds. It looks like the temperature has to be right, everything has to be right in order to grow. That's why I guess a lot of people just buy them from the store already growing. It makes me hard. I've tried and tried and tried. It takes. I finally got some plants, but it took a while to get them. You wouldn't want to just plant strawberries outside the seeds. Probably would not grow. Okay. Now, if you're going to grow your seeds inside, we use this system here. With the light, the stand, the little temperature controller to make sure we keep it at the right temperature. And I also have a timer that I stick on so the lights turn on and off every 12 hours. I like to use this little setup here, which is a leak-proof tray, followed by one that is slotted. And we use that for strength because one tray by itself won't hold the weight. And then we put the little ball on it. And if you had just this without the heating pad and the light, but you had this work, you get 6 hours of daylight, that would be enough to get your seeds to germinate properly. There's a lot of different mediums that you can use to do. Now, if you're like me, if you're back from the farm, well, nothing better than cow pots. I feel like you're back from the farm. Now, they really don't smell that bad. They're good. They're all organic. And these will break down. You can start your seeds in here. And then just take the whole thing, put it in the ground when you're ready to plant. Because you'll see the roots coming out. Now I'll put my plants in the tray here and I'll just water the tray. And then the plants will soak up the water as they need it. I don't have to sit here and pour water in each plant. I just put it into the tray and then it soaks up and gets exactly what it needs there. Now I just found these little things here recently, which is actually foam. And what we do is we use the middle row here because we use the middle of all these trays. If we get too wide, our light won't cover it and we won't get the seeds growing right. The seedlings won't grow correctly. And what we do here is we put the seeds in our little holes here and then we cover them with the dirt. Matt's going to go ahead and plant a few peppers for us while we're talking. It's pretty easy and we haven't rehearsed this.
are you putting one seed in each foam thing?
On the peppers, I'm gonna put one seed in each hole, because the peppers usually do pretty good on germination. Their rate is pretty good. And when you look at a pack of seeds and it says germination rate, 60%, 70%, 100%, if you have 100 seeds, that means 100 will grow, will produce. And I haven't seen anything that says 100%. I've seen some say 99%. We advertise all of ours at 70%, so that way if you do get 80 or 90, you're just as happy. Now he's planting pepper seeds. The first one is Flavor Burst. The Flavor Burst is actually a yellow pepper. It turns green to yellow. And then he's doing a new mix Twilight, which is a green to red hot pepper. And then he'll be doing a sweet chocolate pepper, which is a brown pepper. The pepper, there's all kinds of colors. There's purple and orange and red and green and yellow and the brown. So you can get a pretty good selection assortment there. Now one of the other things I like to use is this cow pot here. I can grow this, and I can take this whole cow pot and just plant it into the ground. Now these are 5 inches. They'll last, they say 12 weeks, but it really won't make 12 weeks. It starts breaking down in about 6 to 8 weeks. And as you can see, the roots are coming out. And this is really what you want on just about anything that you grow, whether you're using cow pots, the dot pots, the netted pots. You want to see those roots coming out. And I can take it like that and just put it into the ground. Or if I want to grow it inside, I can just drop it into a 6-inch container, and I'm ready to roll. And then just keep it watered.
David, can I ask you a question while he's doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
So I started some seeds last year in a real small container, kind of like the little ones you're doing, and then some of them I transplanted straight to a big bed, and some of them I transplanted to 4-inch pots. The ones I put in the 4-inch pots did great, and they actually got bigger and everything. The ones I put straight into the big garden, they never got any bigger. They didn't die, they just stayed little. You ever heard of anything like that?
Did you start them inside altogether?
Yeah, all together.
And you had, the little ones were, you had a little container and then a 4-inch container?
The ones I went to a 4-inch container and then to the garden, they were fine.
Right.
But the ones that I went straight from the little to the garden, they never grew.
The root system was better developed. And so when you plant them, they had a better root system going.
Gotcha.
All right, now these are a couple tomato plants that we started in October from seed. And well, let's go ahead and go to this one right first. Come over here, Matthew's going to cut one of these. Now this is this foam that we used. Some of these tomatoes aren't looking too good because I got too busy and didn't pay attention to things outside. So he's going to cut one out of there. And it's just almost like cutting cake.
David, do you mind if we come up to get closer view, or is that?
Oh, sure. Actually, after your class is over, you actually get to come up and cut and make your own. And you can take it home with you. And he's going to put it into the hot pot. Now, just cut it right. You should be able to just pull it straight up. And then you see all the little roots on there. Show the roots. Try not to pot, cow pot. See the little roots already grown. Then you're going to transfer down into this little 3-inch pot here. And you take the 3-inch pot and you plant it into the ground, or if you want to, go to a larger container, you can do that.
Can we just put it directly into the ground?
Plant the whole thing directly into the ground, yes ma'am. Or you can cut it out of here and put it into the ground as well.
Was the cut about 1 inch and around?
It's actually, you can't see it from there, but it's actually marked already.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll water it and it's ready to go. Now, and what we set it down there. All right. And then, or you can take a bigger pot here and go ahead and hold that for a second. And put one of these in there. And put it about halfway full of earth. Now tomatoes, you can bury them, and you'll want to bury them, because what will happen is this will all produce root then, and make it a stronger tomato plant. While he's doing that, now this one right here, And this one came up later, and so I need to take this out. We don't want to try to grow 2 plants here because it won't work on tomatoes especially. So we'll either cut that out, trim it out, try to pull it out, might mess up the root system for this one, so we'll just get rid of it. All right. And then we can put this in here, and then we'll go ahead and finish filling it off with dirt, and put water in it, and then what we'll get is something like that over there. Doesn't look as good as it should, because I didn't pay attention to it this year. Of course, I wasn't expecting it to freeze before Thanksgiving either. And if you look, it's got the blossoms, and if you look, there's also some little tiny tomatoes already starting to grow here. And you have to get real close to see them.
What are you using for that stake that you have the tomato plant?
Well, that's just a piece of PVC pipe.
Oh, okay.
We build PVC greenhouses, and I had a piece of pipe left, and I just stuck it in there. All right, now the seeds, when you're buying your seeds, you need to get good seeds. If you go down to Walmart and you buy that little bag that sells for 20 cents, you might get something growing out of it, you might not. And whatever grows isn't going to be very good. Burpee usually sells pretty good. A couple other companies out there that do good. We do good. We're the only company that puts their seeds in this plastic bag so that you can stick it and use whatever is left. Because some of our packs come in 1,000. Of course, you don't need a whole 1,000 at a time. You can use it, and then just put it back in the envelope, and you know what it is, and what it's ready for next year. Bean seeds. Generally speaking, here in San Antonio, I've noticed that my pole beans don't do very good here in San Antonio. It gets too hot. Usually on beans, if it gets to be 85, 90 degrees, they just don't produce very well. And sometimes the beans will produce, and then when you go bite into it, it's like leather. It's not any good. Tomato plants need a lower temperature at night between 70 and 75 in order to produce the blossoms. So once it gets up to 90, 95 degrees here, to me anyway, season's over. It's not worth the water to keep putting it on the garden, so I just pull everything up, throw it in the compost pile. All right, do we have any, oh, by the way, I don't expect to take any of this stuff back home with me except for the setup here. So help yourself, we have plenty of pots over here you can take. All the seeds on this table are free. The ones in the green, with the green heading on them, those are 2 to 3 years old. Those are what we originally started out with, and we changed our logo. And they'll grow, but the whole pack won't grow. You might have a 50 to 40% germination rate. And so help yourself to all that, and I guess that's it.
Questions?
Any questions?
Would you recommend storing seeds for the following year?
Just put them in a bag and keep them about 70 degrees, 75 degrees in a cool, dark area.
Okay, like a refrigerator?
I wouldn't put them in the
You
refrigerator.
would not put in the refrigerator.
Now, there are some that you do store in the refrigerator and it'll stay on the pack.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, he was planting the pepper plants, we couldn't see over the little ledge. Did the seed go down the 1/4 inch, or is it just on the surface?
It's just basically on the surface on these.
And then do you put more soil
And
on
what we
top
would-
for germination?
That's what we
soil, or-
forgot to do. And we would put our germination over the top of that, cover the hole a little
Oh, so you
bit.
kind of just sprinkle it, or on the top?
The dirt, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Now, we
And then
did,
how do you know how much water to put into the tray?
what I do is I just keep the tray filled to about half an inch and it'll suck it up as it needs to.
Okay, half inch up, all right, thank
Yeah.
you.
And I did try it with the dirt, without the dirt, and without the dirt, they didn't do very well. So it just needs a little bit of covering over it. Yes, sir.
If you got something that's, you kind of started in water and it's rooting, and you want to transplant it to soil, is there a good method of transitioning it from the water that it's been growing in to the soil, then to outside?
You'll need to call Bob Webster on that. I don't know that. The other thing I did forget is when you do take your seeds outside, and you're ready to transplant them outside, you'll need to take them out for about a week. Cut back the water, take them out for a week. It's called the hardening off process. You can look online. There's several ways to do it. But you just want to take them from outside and plant them out because they might make it, but it's going to stunt their growth a little bit. So you want to work them out a little bit every day until you're finally ready to plant them out. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, what spring crops that you just suggest, like we plant? Just springtime?
Springtime, broccoli, cauliflower will do good, spinach, any of your greens. Of course, peppers, tomatoes, those things will start doing good in spring. And I don't think that your vine plants like pumpkins and cantaloupe, those things do very well here because it gets too hot. When it gets too hot, they tend to just wilt. Probably the pumpkins you can start later on in the year, starting inside and outside once the temperature gets down to 80.
Yeah, we tried the pumpkin patch last year, didn't go very well.
And on things like cantaloupe and watermelon, you know, if they're doing good, they look like they're doing good, all of a sudden you get a heavy rain before they're ripe, they're not going to taste very sweet either. Sometimes you notice that when you go to the store, they don't taste very sweet, that's because they got a lot of water just before they were ready.
Any other questions? Well, David, thank you for coming.
Okay.
Don't go away quite yet. We got something for you. As a thank you gift, we'll give you a SWRI hat here.